The Jack Links 500 from Talladega is over. It was a interesting one. No big one, no flips, no green white checkers. Not things that we usually associate with super speedways, which as I talk about all the time, are centers of calamity and chaos. But the drivers avoided all that, or most of the drivers avoided that. There were still some incidents on the day, but let's dive into the race and what happened. Starting with stage one, as expected, we had that fuel saving strategy where guys were kind of running 3/4 throttle, pretty much the majority of the race to save gas and set up for just a quick fuel only stop near the end of the stage. This was the play in stage one and stage two and most of stage three. Uh, but during the green flag stops in stage one, we had our first caution for cause of the day. Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski kind of got together as they were getting on pit roads, just a communication issue. As Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch spin up the track, they kind of touch Alex Bowman. That redirects them back down the track to hit a Ryan Blaney, who thought he made it through the incident without issue. Unfortunately for Blaney, that ended his day, also ended Keselowski's day. Ryan Blaney's luck this season has just been horrendous. This is just another example of that. You know, at some point, something has to break the 12 cars way. I can't believe between this, at Darlington, the caution coming out as soon as he gained the lead, engine troubles at Homestead. It's been a rough year for the 12 team, and this is a car that has had the ability to win multiple races. Unfortunately for him, things just haven't gone his way. And again, gets the DNF after an incident that was no fault of his own. On the ensuing restart, we get a caution almost immediately coming out of turn two on the backstretch. Just a bad push from Denny Hamlin into Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell is leading, so really glad this wasn't bigger than it was, but Bell collects Chris Buescher as he spins down the track. Hard hits for both of these guys. Really glad to see them get out of their cars. Buescher was not happy on the radio. Can't really blame him. I mean, it's stage one. Yes, you're trying to position yourself to get those important stage points. But that push was just, it seemed like it was a little bit aggressive maybe for this stage of the race from Hamlin to Bell. Bell also, to be honest with you, has struggled with taking those pushes on these restrictor plate tracks, or sorry, drafting style tracks in the past. So that's probably something that he will continue to work on. But Kyle Larson wins stage one. We move on to stage two. And again, fuel saving was the big story in this one. You did see the cars get to four wide. And that's something that's interesting to talk about, right? In the old days at Talladega, you weren't really fuel saving to this manner, but you would have points in the race where it basically developed into a single file line around the top of the track. Guys would kind of ride around by their time for the end of the race. This fuel saving creates a scenario where the cars all bunch up. So you'll see like a lot of forward wide action, but they're not really pushing each other, right? Like nobody's really trying to pass. It's more gridlocked, hard to really move anywhere. You could, in the old days with the single file lines, maybe create runs, create a new line, build off of that. I think with this next gen car combined with the way stage racing works, this fuel saving strategy has just become in vogue for the past few drafting style races at Daytona and Talladega. And it divides opinions. I don't think the racing is particularly great. I do enjoy the visuals of the four wide, but I'd rather see the guys go all out as much as they can. With that being said, I mean, we talk about strategy being an important part all the time. I think what changes that in this scenario is pretty much everybody's on the same strategy. There are some small differences here and there, but everybody's doing the same fuel saving mode. One difference that we did get here at the end of stage two is the Toyota pack pitted at the end of the stage after they had already pitted. So they came back down pit road on 3 laps to go in the stage before pit road closes, just so they didn't have to pit once the final stage started. They would have good track position to kind of manage the race from the front. So it was an interesting strategy. Didn't work out, and we'll get into why that happened. Another key piece here at the end of stage two, Austin Cindric gets a massive run. His teammate Joey Logano kind of goes up to catch the run, but In my opinion, Austin Cindric had way too much momentum. If Cindric had pushed Joey Logano uh, to the green-white checkered, or sorry, the green and white checkered flag at the end of the stages, funny how you get those mixed up. If he had tried to push Joey Logano, I think the momentum was far too much in a part of the track in the trial where the cars are very light. And I think we probably would have had a big one if Cindric had pushed him. Instead, Cindric kind of lets off the gas, uh, scoots to the outside so that he doesn't hit Logano wrong. Logano was livid. I mean, he's cussing his team out over the radio. But I think when he sees the replay of this finish to the stage, he'll realize that what Austin Cindric did was an incredibly heads-up move, because that would have been a really dangerous spot to push. And yes, it cost Joey Logano a stage win in Joey's mind, but in reality, I think if Cindric pushes him, Joey Logano doesn't finish the stage because he wrecks in front of the whole field. Instead, Bubba Wallace wins stage 2. Another great points day for that 23 team who continues to have a pretty good year. I feel like that win's coming at some point. But we get to the final stage, stage 3. Again, more fuel saving. The Toyotas were the first to pit, which will be important as we talk about the strategy here. The Spire Chevys did pit with them. So Carson Hocevar, funnily enough, came out leading that pack of Toyotas. The Fords and the Chevys pitted later. So Toyota was behind the Fords and Chevys, but we're catching them as they weren't fully up to speed. Now, as the Toyota pack catches the rear of the field, Ross Chastain kind of jumps out to try to block them or at least slow the momentum. Denny Hamlin has to check up, excuse me, in a big way. And what this does is it allows or it prevents the Toyotas from really kind of going around the rest of the field with more momentum as they come out of pit road, and mired the Toyota group back in like 20th and behind. So really Ross Chastain kind of set up what was the conclusion of the race by not letting Toyota get into the mix there. I think we would have seen a lot more mixed up field if the Toyotas had been able to keep that momentum and go around the outside. Hocevar leading that pack. You also had McDowell and Haley in there with the Toyotas of Hamlin, Gibbs, Wallace, Reddick, all those guys. But yeah, it was a very, very aggressive block and kind of part of this strategy now when you have different packs pitting together, usually by manufacturer, to try to set up the drafting for the end of the race. So we're coming down to the wire, and it's William Byron and Austin Cindric leading the two defined lines that we had. Cindric is kind of motoring along on the bottom. William Byron is controlling the top. Really interesting here is Kyle Larson is the second car in line on the bottom row. The thought process there was at some point, Byron would probably fade far enough back for Larson to jump up in front of Byron, hook up with his teammate, and be able to push the 5 car and get some separation so that one or the other of them would get the win coming to the checkered flag. That didn't happen because Ryan Preece kind of saw the run developing. William Byron had faded back just a little bit. And Ryan Preece times it perfectly, jumps out of line with momentum, catches the run from the 24, takes control of the lead on the outside row, and has enough momentum that Larson didn't have time to go up and block that so that he could control the outside row. So then you have 2 Fords on the front 2 rows coming to the conclusion of the race. And this is where maybe the NextGen car kind of shows its weakness on these drafting style tracks. Nobody really got out to develop a third lane. They didn't get super aggressive with the moves, and the teammates weren't able to kind of link up with each other because those Fords were doing a great job of managing the runs and keeping control of the race coming to the checkered flag. Side-by-side finish, but ultimately Austin Cindric holds off the 60 car of Ryan Preece by the slightest of margins and wins at Talladega to lock himself into the postseason. It was an interesting one. Again, no big one, no green, white, checkered. Nobody ended up airborne. So I think if you're one of the teams here, you have to be happy with the lack of expenses that you come away from Talladega with. I'm sure there's going to be some folks frustrated with, with what's seen as maybe a lack of racing with the way the fuel saving strategy worked, and with what seemed to be an inability to really create runs in a third row there at the end of the race. But it's a big one for Austin Cindric. That's a team that needed to win. They had some point issues earlier in the year. Obviously, Cindric had been docked points for an incident with Ty Dillon at Circuit of the Americas. So that's a big win for this two group. Cindric's, again, because of that move he made in stage two, I think it just really showcases how good he is at these style of races. And we talk about how at Talladega and Daytona, you can have surprise winners. You can have a lot of luck and end up at the front at the end of the race. That doesn't mean there's not a level of skill to it, and I think Cindric is one of the most skilled drivers at this style of track. With that being said, we're headed to Texas Motor Speedway next week. I will be there live in person for Apollo for coverage. Really excited to get back to the track, see some faces. If you're out there, make sure to say hello. Always thrilled to be covering NASCAR for Apollo, your source for NASCAR from the Bayou City. Gonna have a great time up in Texas Motor Speedway next week, and we'll see you then.